you want more?
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
Hey, man. Hey, well, thank you for your time. Been a huge fan for a bit. In fact, picked up the Nonstop Rock on cassette way back in the day. But you had how'd you guys get connected with Mike Barney on that?
You know what? I don't exactly remember how it happened, but it came out of being reached by somebody in Europe letting us know that he was interested or something like that. That's
Right.
what I remember.
Okay.
And when, of course, we weren't not that hard to find. You know what I mean? We were just there all the time. So, but that only happened when I came into the band. So
Right.
a lot of people think that the deal came in and it was London and all that. No, because London had already had 3 different singers. You know, they've done 3 different deals, and who knows what else they did that I don't know about that, ex-members may not talk about or something. But for me is I didn't know all the background on London,
Right.
except for the fact that they had played at the Starwood. So so the Starwood to me was like, like it was to you. You go to a club, you can't get in, you're underage. There's a lot of girls in line and people in line and they're dressed crazy, and you're like, going, I want to go there. Right. And that's how I remember seeing London, but not like all the extra background with the older, the singers that they've had. I didn't know any of that. So for me, it was all new. So when I came in is when the deal came in. So, I don't know if that was a warm up from all the stuff that happened with the past with London, but nobody really wanted to touch London,
Right. Why do you think that was? I mean, because again, pretty good following and reputation for the band even before you came into the picture.
Being as naive and as young as I was, I didn't know that there was forces in the background that they were gonna basically poison the waters. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was to a point where we thought we had somebody doing voodoo on us. And
oh boy!
It was really
wow.
Because you know what? I'll tell you what was going on. When I came in, we got Nonstop Rock. Remember everything was like on letters, handwritten. People send you things from all over the world, and we're getting a lot just because of Nonstop Rock. Things started opening, and then there was almost like a complete halt. To a point where people were not being very nice to the band, and that's when there was a lot of drama when I joined, because I had no idea what was going on. That he had a past with London, that was other shit going on, but it wasn't a bad thing.
Right.
It was a good thing, because when I came in, I had no idea, and I was vicious. I was fucking young and really strong character guy. I got that Mexican blood in me. I'm like fucking just ready to take on the world. And there was a lot of people who, I don't think wanted London to move forward, and Nonstop Rock, being for what it was and how much it cost to make and how it got to where it got, we still had a product. And I think that was the mission that we really wanted to have. It was either you have a record or you don't. You would have just been another flyer. Like now you see bands with tons of flyers from the past. How do you know who the fuck they are? You're like,
right. You're
saint this, saint that, sweet this, sweet that.
And it's always like a band with white or something in it, right?
Right. Or Ferrari. Right.
Yeah,
Ferrari.
Right.
Mark,
I do.
What a great
Mark
name.
Ferrari.
It's his last name. Sorry, Charlie.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or a band called Barbie. I remember Barbie.
Sure. Yep. Yeah, I remember a lot of those bands. Right.
Call it Ford. Let's see what happens.
Right.
You have an accident.
But anyway, for you,
go ahead.
I've
gone back to the original deal. You know, a lot of things happened, and with Nonstop Rock, you know, there was a lot of things that happened. You know, I would have to be refreshed a little more, but
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. For you, it's been important. And I think it's a pretty cool thing because I managed to just pick up a copy of Nonstop Rock on CD, and it's something that you're selling, which I think is great because it's another opportunity for folks to discover the band. I think for
Indeed.
London, I think for London, one of the things, and I think it's probably been pretty good press to kind of continue the underground following that London and has had is the availability of the metal years, right? Because you guys are
Right.
featured
Well,
prominently in
that
there.
helped.
Mhm. Right. In thinking back to that, because I'm guessing there's a lot of cool stories that you probably shared on camera that didn't make it. Is there one in particular that you shared that didn't make the cut?
You know, we did a lot of that behind the scene looking stuff at
Mm.
Penelope Spheres' house. So we were partying pretty heavily at,
Oh, wow.
and it was like a garage, and it had all our stage stuff. You can see it in the movie. It's all
Right.
our stuff. They're not like props, or it's all our shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And down to that camper, you know what I mean?
I was going to ask you about the camper. That really was legitimately your guys' camper, huh?
Fine. We listen. It was like this. On Nonstop Rock, we bought that 1950s military bus.
Mm-hmm.
We painted it. We took the seats out. It was a transport for the military, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
took that, and it had a gearbox, so it didn't have a transmission. Those
Oh,
are not made to go across the
okay.
country, you
Right.
know. And Lizzie had a great idea. Goes, let's buy it, $500. Can't beat it.
Mm-hmm.
And we got it, and it made it to New Orleans, and we broke down. So the reality for us was, well, if we lose that transfer, we need to get something else. And we got that camper that saved our ass, because that camper was the one that gave us a little bit of that rest of the way that we needed to go play in New Orleans on a
Right.
riverboat for the
Oh,
mayor. Anyway, but yeah,
okay.
that was a real unit. I mean, that's where
Oh,
we were at.
geez.
I mean, I
Yeah.
literally was staying there, and Lizzie was, bouncing around with his girl, but and the rest of the guys, where everyone was on their own, that's how it was in this band. We weren't like bothering anyone in the band. Hey man, maybe I was, maybe in the middle of the night.
Right.
But it was a real vehicle, and we loved it. Every mile that it gave us was a lot of fun.
Right. Um, I know, as far as the rights to the name London, I mean, you've become the face of the band. I mean, most people
Nobody
that
wants the rights to the name London.
nobody wants it. I
Who
was
the
going to ask
fuck
you about
wants
that.
it? Tell me one guy that goes, "Oh, I'll
Well,
take it."
I'd take it. I'd take it. I mean,
No,
but I'm a fan, but
yeah,
yeah,
no.
but rights for the name, because I know, I mean, you came on board and you've basically, been the guy that's kind of kept the name out there. I know Lizzie, was in
Since
out of the band.
since
He's
since
passed.
the
Yeah.
beginning of time with
Hmm.
Lizzie, when I joined, it's been Lizzie and I.
Right. Okay.
You know, uh, Brian was to a point, and then he went on and did his own. But that part of it, he wasn't interested in it after I
Hmm.
did the demos. After Don't Cry Wolf, we did Don't Cry
Right.
Wolf, and it was great. But then I don't think he liked the fact that I needed to stick to that harder sound.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I
Right.
like how it worked. I know that was working for everyone, but that wasn't the reason I was doing it. That was what I liked. That was my liking as a singer. So he was still locked up and the Mata Hoople thing,
Right.
and that's why he went and did, Ultra Pop and
Hmm.
Spiders and Snakes, his band, and all
Yeah.
that, and he did like 9, 10 albums or some shit,
Right.
on
Right.
of the same thing.
Hmm.
So he didn't want to hang with me to finish anything further, so he went off on his own. And that's when you saw the guitar player that's in Playa del Rock
Hmm.
come in,
Right.
and then take over what he was doing.
Mm.
He was much younger,
Right.
faster, uh, you know, uh, different. He's out
Right.
of GIT. The guy was,
Mm.
you know how it is. So,
Right.
and then the drummer Jafria came in, and all that came together, and that's how Playa Del Rock developed from that whole fucking situation. Yeah.
Right. And I'll get to that record because I really do like it. I think the only thing about that is there was a little bit of a shift. I know, I mean, you were mentioning it earlier. You know, you mentioned it more of the harder edge, the metal. I do think the first couple of records, you know, did have a darker sound to it. Still rockin', still metal, but not, you know, I mean, darker as in edgier and stuff. I think with Playa del Rock, definitely more polished and stuff like that. There was a couple of things with that particular record because, you know, I have two versions of it. One that's under the London heading, and then the other one under D'Priest. So I don't know if you want to touch on that because that became a little bit confusing.
Sure.
And then the second part to that question, I think when the record came out, it was towards the tail end of 1990, which is kind of a weird time to reissue a brand new record.
No, it was right away. It was no waiting. I think that what happened was once we did the record, once the record went to print, then London had that vinyl that said London.
Right.
And then I know that Bruce Kirkland and Carl Ulrich Walterbach, the president of Noise Records, were the brainstormers on all this because we weren't making any of those moves unless they were greenlighting everything because they were putting a lot of money into us compared to what they did with Mordred or Voivod or Gamma Ray or any of those guys.
Right.
You know, but great guys. But for us they were going in a different direction with that production. You understand? Like Noise was not known for doing Playa Del Rock kind of type of record. And that was doing good for us because we were doing better than said artists that they had on their
right.
So for us, the change was done by them. They wanted to change. They approached me and said, "We want to change the name. We don't want to drag this name on, and we want to call it D'Priest. We think it's a great idea, you know, D'Priest, a fucking excellent name, you know." And I thought about it, right? And even at that age, you know, I was young and green, you know, in business for this kind of stuff, and I said, you know what? I know what's going to happen. I said, I'm going to have every fucking guy in here hating the fact that it's in my name. You know what I mean? And sure enough, you know, it cost a lot of grief to change the name, but it wasn't me who said, well, I think we're going to call it D'Priest and you guys got to reissue it. They fucking, listen, they already pressed like 1,000 records on vinyl on London. You know, they didn't have to go back and fucking spend more money to put another vinyl with the D'Priest just to change the font. You know what I mean? But back then, changing the font was a big fucking deal. Anyway, for that, that's what happened. But it wasn't something that I said, "Oh yeah, guys, let's go." I wasn't really down for it. But I had to do what they told me to a point because they were paying the records and the video and the things that we were doing that we weren't doing before. So I was happy with Noise to a point. Yeah.
Right. I'm impressed that you mentioned all those bands on the Noise roster because I'm a fan of a lot of them for sure. But
yeah, they're
pretty
great.
Cool.
They're still around.
Yeah. A lot of them are. Yeah. How soon did things kind of start unraveling? Because I know you said as soon as
immediately, like I just told you.
Okay, everything so it was like right
a
away.
Domino effect. Shit started happening. Once the bus got confiscated, and then after that, it was down to a van, and then drama and alcohol and drugs, and women. And
oh boy,
really just terrible shit.
What about the producer? Because that was an interesting pick for a producer. You know, again, I know that Noise wanted to do something different with you guys. You bring in a more melodic band. Who selected the producer? Okay, who was it?
The producer was a hookup from one of the guitar players that knew him, that suggested to get him, and we contacted, you know, him and all that, and you know, you had to get him going. Richie Podlor, you know, has a lot of records on his walls, or had. God bless his soul. He passed away.
Yeah, he passed.
But he was an amazing producer, and he also played a Spanish style guitar. He
Was
plays on I've been around before.
right?
That's
I
him
was
on the
going to ask
mandolin.
you about that because it does bring out that Spanish influence, the Latino influence. But it was that guitar or was it mandolin?
It's a mandolin.
Okay, okay,
That's Richie Podler, and Richie. Remember when they were mixing, you know, it was in this big Neve board, and they had automation and rarely used it. I think it was more like with him was everything was all feel right there on tape. So the way he mixed himself, I wanted it to be louder, but he liked it the way it was like that.
okay,
You know, I would have liked it, you know, certain things a different way, but he was a producer, and he,
right.
you know, we spent 9 months working with him off and on inside of that studio, besides the session time that we were allowed to spend money on. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we weren't paying for thousands and thousands of dollars of time, thanks to, you know, to Richie Podler, American Recording Studios, and obviously Bill Cooper, the engineer.
Right. Nice. Yeah, I was going to ask you about been around before in that mandolin piece, because that was pretty interesting how that kind of came in at the tail end of the tune, and then it kind of fades out and stuff. That was
was great. He was up to doing it because he was very moody.
But you know, one of the cool things, I think what that was when that tune that was being played on Z-Rock, which was you know, one of those satellite stations.
Yes,
and they
had Z-Rock out of Texas, out of Dallas, Texas. Was Mad Max Hammer.
Mad Max
the
Hammer,
DJ,
right?
Who's playing that?
Right, and
he was a big fan.
Yeah, they played the shit out of that. I mean,
yes,
that's how I rediscovered, you know, London. So it was a nice little push for you.
Yes, it was.
And then also Miss You, I think, made it on there pretty
we
regular.
Didn't pick that. We were blown away by the fact that they decided that the radio station were the ones. Z-Rock, you know, was one of them, but so is the KUPD and others. You know, they were like picking that song, and we're like, oh my god, it's a fucking ballad, and we're like, oh,
sure.
I was like, well, you know, whatever works, you know. And they picked that and Ride You Through the Night and Heartbeat and all that. It was really like really a great experience to see the songs being picked by strangers, and you know, and you just put that out there and see who bites, you know.
Right. And there were a number of other tunes that kind of had a nice mix to the, I mean, to the record, where it did have some of that edgier stuff. I think you just mentioned a couple right there, you know. Russian Winter also, you know, obviously that was kind of that was a tune that was so tell me about that one, because I think that one was also featured with the band performing on the Metal Years. I think that was one of the tunes.
That's how that came about, because we were rehearsing that song and we were working on that at LAX Records when we were at which is now the Guitar Center. That whole PA area, all that area was our rehearsal room area. You know what I mean? Back in the day, that was LAX Records. And that's where Russian Winter came out. You know, you know, songs like, you know, No Tell Motel and all that stuff. That's where that whole vibe started, out of that studio, rehearsal studio. Right. And so for me, it was great to use it on this record with Playa Del Rock, because it took it to a different level, you know. And it's Richie Podler, you know, with you know, Guy Babylon playing keyboards, you know. It's just, you know, we had Jimmy Greenspoon of Three Dog Night, you know.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
We had, I mean, we really had access to a great selection of amazing talent, and it wasn't being spared because we weren't being rushed. It was kind of cool to experience that. So the songs ended up as you hear them. The production, if you play that record up to now, the production value stays as good as anything that's on the radio right now.
It's definitely right. Sonically, definitely a great record. There were a couple covers on this. Who brought in the idea of the covers? Was it producer? Or was it somebody in the band?
Not the producer.
Okay.
No. Money Honey was my idea. Okay. Lizzie liked Money Honey. We played it, you know, That was in Don't Cry Wolf. I'm
Uh-huh.
sorry, Money
Yeah,
Honey.
yeah.
I'm sorry. We're
Yeah.
talking about which song on you're talking about?
I'm talking about Hot Child in the City.
Oh, Hot Child in the City.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that's me. Somebody in the band didn't like it, but it wasn't Lizzie.
Yeah.
Wasn't in the band at that
Right.
point. Lizzie had already left and all that. This was, you know, that somebody would say, "Oh, they're that kind of gay song," and
Right.
they like, when your friends make a comment, "Oh, that's gay, dude." That's it. And in reality, it was a hit in the '70s.
Sure.
And I just had to add more production to it because if you really listen to the original and you listen to
Oh
us,
yeah.
it was
Right.
a complete different deal. Even Nick Gilder, I spoke to Nick Gilder,
Oh,
and
nice.
this is like in 2012, I think it was, and he praised
Okay,
the way
so
I
he
did
heard
it.
it.
He said it was a great
Oh,
version you
that's
did,
awesome.
and I was just stoked as fuck. You know what I mean?
Sure. Sure.
You know, and
And
but
and
he,
and, and Money Honey is on Playa del Rock, by the way.
yes, Money Honey, that's the Bay
So
City Rollers.
yeah, which
Yeah,
I've
I was a big Bay
right.
City Roller fan because I used to watch the Bay City Roller show. They had
Mhm.
a show in the UK and they would broadcast it in the United States. And when I saw them playing it with their outfits and the lights and the sounds and the girls salivating, and I'm like going, yeah, look at that. That's
Right.
awesome. And the song was great. Money, Honey. Can't get what you can't
Yeah.
get any better than that.
Right. As far as having lived with the record for a bit now, what do you think about the whole experience as a whole? And is there a particular song that you're relatively very proud of that's on this particular record?
Well, every song has been on that record because of the producer and the type of work ethic he had. We worked our asses really hard on that,
Mm-hmm.
and the record was basically an eye opener for us because we had climbed from not having anything to get to that point to the point where even the drummer that was in the studio we had to be let go because of the
Mm-hmm.
production value.
Right.
You know what I mean? Uh, I don't want to mention his name, but
Sure.
he
Right.
works at a label and blah blah blah. But
Mm.
but so for me, the way that the record was made by these '70s hit makers, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it was a complete, it was like going to college on a crash course express to find out how they're doing these hits, and for me, it was a learning experience. You know what I mean? But the one song, you know, I I like them all. I mean, I like Ride
Right.
You Through the Night. I like The
Yeah.
Wall.
Mm-hmm.
I like, I like Heartbeat. Heartbeat is like,
Oh yeah.
is what
Yeah.
got us on VH1 and MTV. Think
Right.
about it. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
a song that we had no idea was going to do that. Did it on its own
Mm-hmm.
on a cheap, video recorder. But
Right.
anyway, I, maybe it's so easy just to
Mm.
say something, but
Yeah.
I like them all. They're like, they're like a lot of different, feelings for each one of them because I had to go through a lot of shit at that time. And it was,
Mm-hmm.
we all were, so
Right.
we were younger,
Right. Right. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of great stuff on there. Was there any leftover content, like any songs that didn't make the cut that you
Yeah.
had guys cut? And about how
Yeah.
many do you
I
think
have
there were?
demos. Well,
Okay.
Cleopatra had I had licensed them to release a thing they call the Metal Years. They went on their own and
Hmm.
put it out there.
Okay.
But
So
that was
those
a
are
while
probably on
back.
there.
So what I'm gonna do is I have the sessions,
Oh, no way.
and
Nice.
I have the sessions and I have the demo sessions, meaning that those sessions were like not altered. You
Okay.
literally are gonna hear the sessions with just the tape on and
Okay.
you being recorded, and then that's how Richie Podlor said no song, yes song, maybe
Okay.
song. Uh, and that's how it was picked, really, to be honest with you, because there were
Mm-hmm.
just things that were being worked out in the studio. So these things will give
Nice.
you an idea how Ride You Through the Night,
Sure.
started, and how Miss You, was not Miss You. and just a lot of lyrical content that was just being babbled as the recording was going, and it turned into Playa Del Rock.
Wow.
So that's the cool process about this, because
So
I like that, showing people how you do that.
Yeah, so that eventually will be released.
Well, it was
you.
released, like I said, on Cleopatra, but their
Cleopatra.
license is gone. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a booklet of that specific session with Richie Podler and photos with him in the studio, what this is all being done. You know, and right now I'm into putting out CDs. I'm getting a great response from people on CDs. Even though we're into digital media, people are still doing that. Some people hit me up for content, you know, on digital media, but I'm not down to doing that because my CDs, I think, is what people really want.
Right, which getting to the latest London music that isn't found on any of those platforms. They can only get it through you. And tell me about that particular record.
Well, you can get the latest album, the London
on CD.
Call That Girl. It's on Spotify.
Right. Oh, you can get it on Spotify.
No, it's on Spotify, but that's the only one.
Right, because I can't find it on Amazon Music, and that's what I use. So okay.
No, not anything else unless somebody's bootlegging it. And I don't. I know that Noise Records sold the rights to the masters to Universal, and Universal sold it to that metal label. I can't remember their name, but it's one of those big ones. So, but they don't have it out. So, as far as that is concerned, none of that digital format is on any of these albums except for the last album.
Right. Okay. Any plans for any new music? Because I know you're into the physical product. So is there going to be anything that's going to follow up the last record?
Well, the last record was done during this nightmare COVID bullshit that was going on. So it really ruined my release on the album because it just everything came to a complete stop. So right now, what I ended up doing was release a Spanish album this year. Well, last year, January, and now it's old. So now I got to do something else. But I do have sessions that I didn't finish that I need to record. I just, you know, this whole COVID thing put a lot of dampers on live gigging and doing anything out of the house, and it just got really ridiculous, man. So now I'm ready to go and get back to the recording. I have a studio at home. I can record it at home. So it's just now that people are able to mingle together without wearing a mask or some kind of you know, shield from other people, because you're all have the goodies.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Yeah, but you go down on vagina, though, right?
Yeah, right. There you go. I was going to ask you. I think you're a huge dog lover, as am I.
Yes.
And I think you're into like helping for the cause of the better treatment of dogs in particular. Tell me about that. What got you into that?
I've been doing it for years, since I was a kid. I've helped animals. I grew up with my dad, and my dad had horses and dogs and all that. But you know, even when I was in Hollywood during Playa Del Rock, I had rescued quite a bit of dogs, and I placed them and all that. But I couldn't do it anymore at the time. So for me, it's not been something that I just started. I've been doing it as much as I could, placement or rescues. You know, the boxer rescue in the valley with Ursula, which I rescued a few dogs from her for my own, and placed them for other people. And that was, you know, that was back in the 90s. But now it's because of, you know, of the internet, I'm able to share it on my pages, and a lot of people are aware of it. And I try to, you know, help as much as I can. But you know, it's just so many dogs out there.
Right.
So much help, you know.
Right.
I love it. I love doing it. It gives me satisfaction. As a matter of fact, I have 12 dogs.
Wow.
But I rescued one.
Yeah.
You know, that I could not rescue. He was sleeping at an Arco gas station for a year.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? And he had he was not moving. He was just laying there. They were feeding him this and that and all that. So I had to take him, you know, and I took him. I couldn't watch it.
Right.
I couldn't do it, man. It created
Sure.
anxiety like you wouldn't believe. It was just
Hmm.
something that that I couldn't accept. So for me, is there's a lot of emotions in that, you
Sure.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
love doing it, and it helps me, makes me feel good, and there's a lot of great angels out there who are doing it all the fucking time, more than I would
Sure.
ever do because
Yeah.
of time. But yeah,
Sure.
definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I can relate as far as the rescue dogs. All my dogs are rescue
Yeah.
dogs, and I got
Yes,
three.
we have a
So
lot of those.
you're crushing me by like what, 9? You have a dozen dogs. I only got three, but
Yeah, now
you
it's
know,
12. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Now it's 12
Okay. Yeah.
and 7
So,
cats.
oh
Yeah,
wow, you're yeah. Well, that's a room full of
yeah,
critters
that's
for
it.
sure, man.
Yeah,
Oh,
it went from having girls to having cats now. That's
well,
about
there
as
you
much
go.
fun as you have and have.
Are they more loyal? I would say probably yes.
Yes, most definitely.
Oh man, I just got a couple of things, and I'll cut you loose. As a Latino, I learned English not from my parents. I think my dad took the route of not, he knew English, didn't speak it around me simply because he didn't want me to pick up his accent. Because clearly, if he speaks English, he's not born in the United States. So I picked up
Sure.
English more from like watching Flintstones, the Jeffersons,
We all watched that.
good times,
Yeah.
and rock music. So for yourself, how did you go about learning English? Was it talked in the home? Was it spoken in the home, or how did you pick
Well,
that
for
up?
me, it was really, I think, from in comparison to other people,
Hmm.
for me was that I have my grandmother in the United States,
Okay.
and so it was her bright idea to bring me to the States at a really, really young age. And I was,
Hmm.
a mama guy. I wanted to be with my dad and my mom
Right.
and all that. So for me, when I learned English, it was a really young age. It was about 9 years old. It took me 12 months.
Mm.
12 months, I picked it up. And like you said, it was TV. I mean, I was
Right.
watching the Dick Van Dyke Show. I
Okay.
was watching Howdy Doody.
There you go. Yeah.
I was
Right.
watching like, Looney Tunes and just things that were not around anymore now. And of course I had to go to fucking school and I got my ass kicked every so often because I was Mexican.
Hmm.
But I put up a good fight. It was great.
Right. Right.
I went to really rough schools. I went to Hollenbeck too, in downtown LA, Eastmont Intermediate, Pasadena, Montebello Intermediate. I mean, I was all over the radar. So you learn how to speak English fucking quick.
Yeah. No kidding. Last one for you, Nader, and then I'll cut you loose. Thank you for your time, and I
Yeah,
hope to talk to you again at some point. I think you
sure.
got some stuff in the
Anytime.
works that I'd love to
Appreciate
talk
it.
to you
Thank you.
about. As far as retro bands, I think there are some bands that are playing stuff that's leaning more towards the era that we grew up of music that
Right.
you play. To me, a lot of it seems really disingenuous. I mean, there are some that hit the mark, but for the most part, a lot of these bands coming out of Europe and stuff, not so great, and it just seems really
Right.
phony. It'd be like me throwing on baggy clothes and pretending to be a rapper.
Okay.
um
Well, are we talking about rock music or?
yeah, rock music, the bands that are playing this 80s leaning type music that is more of a retro thing, but they really didn't live it. What's your thoughts on that?
I have no idea who the fuck they are because
Oh, well, yeah,
it'd be great if they invited me to bring him the real deal. You know what I mean?
yeah, there you go.
No, I don't know. I saw that they're criticizing that one band that sounds like Led Zeppelin, but they're American.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Greta
You
Van
know,
Fleet, right?
yeah, they're American, but then you have an interview of Robert Plant going, that fucking band,
Hmm.
he praised them for,
Sure.
sounding almost close to them, I think. But
Right.
I don't know any other name. Give me a name and I'll tell you if I like them or not.
Well, there's a band like, let's say, like Crazy Licks. You probably have
I
never
don't know
heard
who
of
they
them.
are.
Oh, there you go. They to me they look like Tiger Tails from the late 80s, 90s, and I don't even know if you're familiar with them. You're probably
I
too
don't
busy
know
doing your
Tiger
own thing.
Tails. I know that they are. I seen the stuff on online
Right.
on Facebook or something, but not.
Right.
I don't remember them from back in the day. Were
Right.
they there?
Yeah. Well, who the Tiger
Yeah,
Tails?
were they there
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
we did it?
Late 80s. Late 80s. They were a
They were there.
European band though. Yeah, they were more like
Okay. Well, they didn't.
Poison-ish.
The Europeans wanted to be in LA. That was
Right.
the deal. They were trying to get their asses down to LA so we American bands can go to fucking Europe.
Right.
You know, they're
Right.
just a little too late. They're like 28 years late.
Well, they're still trying to take a shot at it. I don't think. Again, my thoughts are there's a handful that are doing it pretty good. The rest probably not so great.
Well, God bless them. If they're getting paid and they're getting gigs, that's better than what I'm fucking doing. So if they're trying to take, I mean, there's other bands that like Steel Panther, with this,
right.
Whatever that's called, and it's working for them. So it keeps the mood alive, kind of like
right.
a joke or something, like how the 80s were. It was over the top, big hair, what about, it's kind of funny.
All right, man. Well,
you can have one on your own online. Shit.
Yeah. Hey, man, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ruben.
I'll reach out to you again, and hopefully we can do this again, man. Especially once you get something lined up with, putting out some more product. But I might hit you up.
There's more going to be coming. Yeah, there's more going to be coming. We're going to be working on, and send me an email with your address so I can ship you out some product. That'll be great.
I'll get it out to you, man. All right, thank you very much. I will.
I'm on londontheband.net.
Yep.
D'Priest.com.
There you go.
And you can go on eBay and find us.
Always hustling. I love it.
Got to do it. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Take care.
You guys have a great time. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.